August 2nd, 2007, in the heart of Southern California, just a 2-hour drive from Las Vegas, a high-stakes operation is about to unfold. The target? Sababa Casino, a gaming hotspot where high rollers drop thousands of dollars on roulette and blackjack every night. But tonight, it's not a gambler taking the biggest risk, it's a lowly employee.
As far as he was concerned, this plan was one step ahead of the casino.
If things work out, he'll instantly become a millionaire, and if they don't, federal charges. To find out who he is and why he might get away with it, we need to go back to the start of the year where this story really begins. It's January 2007, and for a 25-year-old man living in the very same town as San Jacinto, Riverside County, it's the start of a make or break year, because just before Christmas, he hit rock bottom. 2006 had started bad for Roland Ramos. Once upon a time, he and his girlfriend had been happy, but then there was too much partying, too many rows, until finally, she left him for good. Then came the money troubles. In September 2006, he'd filed for bankruptcy, reporting $21,450 in assets and $46,812 in liabilities, owing money on a 2006 Nissan Titan pickup, and about $17,000 in personal loans. And then, in December 2006, Roland had pleaded guilty to driving under the influence and been sentenced to 36 months probation. Now at the start of the new year, he's left with just one good thing in his life: his job at the Sababa Casino. It pays just $27,000 a year, a drop in the ocean compared to the millions that move through the casino floor every night. But to Rolando, his job is more than a paycheck. It's his way in, his chance to hit the jackpot without ever placing a bet. It's not so much the pay that's keeping Rolando going, and it's not because of the people. Even though they're great, he's from the Philippines, and most of his family live in Mexico. His work friends are all outsiders too, simply trying to make good and live the American dream, just like him. It's more because of the actual job itself, because compared to most jobs out there that he'd get, the work is really cool, because he works as a surveillance tech. The casino is one of 400 tribal casinos in America at this time, operated by over 200 different tribes, with many found in the southern states of Oklahoma, Arizona, New Mexico and California. Casino security is always a big deal in the United States. Operations like the Bellagio, Caesars Palace and the Wynn Las Vegas invest millions into casino surveillance. The IRS keeps a close eye on every casino's cash flow, and federal laws make sure no dirty money gets through the system. But for Rolando, security isn't an obstacle, it's the opportunity. At tribal casinos, security often goes the extra mile, with tribes spending millions of dollars on surveillance systems and round-the-clock monitoring. There are different reasons why tribal casinos might be extra vigilant. Perhaps they get more scrutiny from the regulators and want everything caught on camera for the IRS if they do come calling. Or perhaps it's the tribal governments they're nervous of. Casino revenues fund essential community services, so they like to stay involved. Or even perhaps they don't like working with outside law enforcement. So the more they can do to prevent any issues, the better. In the last few years, such casinos have been targeted by a gang called the Tran Organisation. There's a link to my video about those guys in the description. The heat that came with that case was extremely unwelcome. But whatever the reasons, Las Vegas often sees tribal casinos as a model for building their own systems, and no Indian casino in Riverside County has ever been the target of a major robbery. It's a proud record, and the real reason why Rolando wants to keep his job, because this year he wants there to be a robbery at the Sababa Casino, where he works, and he plans to make that happen. The question is, how? Rolando plans to use his knowledge to pull off a heist. He's been working well at the casino for 2 years, and has full access to the video surveillance system. That's his area, but it won't be enough. To understand how anyone could pull this off, he needs to know the casino's wider security protocols inside out. That includes who has access to what areas, what other systems are in place to ensure unusual activity doesn't go undetected, when cash moves through the building, where it goes, and why any flaws in the casino security might even occur. Now, Rolando is a smart guy, switched on, so it doesn't surprise anyone when he starts taking an extra interest. Before long, he spies a chink in the casino's armour, and day by day, night by night, he devises a heist to exploit it. He decides that he won't be an outside job though, carried out by an external gang. By spring 2006, he's decided this will be an inside job. carried out by himself. Rolando's plan is brilliant, and if he pulls it off, he can escape with a vast amount of money, although there is a problem. The problem is that whilst Rolando is 100% confident he can make it out of the casino, a vast amount of money is not something you can simply walk away with. It weighs more than enough to slow you down, so he's going to have to get someone to help him, and that makes the whole thing more risky. In fact, a study by the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners found that schemes involving 2 or more individuals were 3 times more likely to get busted. Just one more person to keep quiet, understand the plan and avoid the cops spells 3 times the trouble, so anyone he does choose to work with needs to be smart and trustworthy. After weeks of thinking about it, Rolando realises while he's at the casino that only one person fits the bill, and he's sitting right next to him. Also working at the casino, and now his good friend as well as a colleague, is a 23-year-old Eric Aguilera. Eric works within security too, as a surveillance agent, and Rolando has decided this needs to be a fully inside job. He makes his approach. In June 2006, they get together over beers and fast food, and Rolando talks Eric through his plan. At first, Eric isn't interested. The US casino industry grosses $60 billion a year, yet the average casino salary is just $30,000. Eric likes his job, sure, but loyalty has its limits, and the money they could make is insane. But he's scared. Just like Rolando, Eric knows how hard it will be to succeed, and what will happen to them if they don't. However, Rolando does have one killer piece of information he's been holding back, which is all he needs to persuade him, and once that's shared, Eric's in. This is too good an opportunity to miss, and the heist is on. In July 2007, they plan the robbery further. Soon, Rolando has a 6-step plan which seems foolproof. On paper that is. Now all they have to do is give it a trial run, and if everything goes as it should, it's game on. On August 1st, the 2 of them walk through the plan in real time, blocking through exactly what should happen at each stage of the heist, the timings, the things that could possibly go wrong, and what they'd do, every step of the way. It all works, but that in itself is a problem. What would work today won't necessarily work in a week's time. Shifts, passwords, personnel, protocols, they can all change in the blink of an eye, just when you least expect it, and when that happens, your plans are toast. To make the most of this perfect opportunity, Rolando and Eric need to move fast, very fast, so they set the date, tomorrow, and then they go home to get some sleep. Except Rolando doesn't sleep. Rolando can't sleep. Partially, it's adrenaline. He's going over the heist, minute by minute, second by second, getting things straight in his head. All he thinks about is the 6-step plan. Stick to it, and this will work. Partly, it's nerves. When you mess with casinos, you mess with some pretty heavy people. Plus, the federal government view financial crimes as the worst crimes of all, especially those against their buddies in the gambling world. When Reginald Johnson robbed the Treasure Island Casino in Las Vegas in the year 2000, stealing just $30,000, he was sent down for 130 years. But also, Rolando's excited. He's thinking about what a mess his life has become and how, this time tomorrow, he'll be rich. But the main reason he can't sleep is cocaine. Massive amounts of coke, because in his race to the bottom, Rolando has also learned how to party hard. It's a part of his problem. In fact, now it's almost the whole problem. And this night of all nights, what starts as a few lines to keep him sharp, to get him through the darkest hours, turns into an all-night mission. So when it's 3:30 AM, the alarm goes off and it's time to leave. But Rolando hasn't slept, and of course there's only one sensible solution: more lines of coke, and then he's ready to go. What could possibly go wrong? When he meets him, Eric is having some last minute nerves, but a talkative and extremely fired up Rolando is able to remind and reassure him. The job won't put him in danger, because that's how Rolando has sold it to him. Eric's role until now has just been to check Rolando's plan, using his casino security expertise to cross-check every last detail of the heist. And now the heist night has arrived, it's simply to be the getaway driver. So in the early morning of August 2nd, he drives them quietly into the casino in Rolando's Mustang, approaching it along the main driveway, and then parking up near the employee's entrance. Rolando gets out and enters the complex through his usual door, while Eric drives out of the lot, round the block, and parks up somewhere quiet, and then waits. And it's a tough wait, because Eric is exhausted, not because he was up all night doing coke, he wasn't, but because he was up all night telling his girlfriend, who'd also got wind of the plan, that everything was going to be fine. Exhausted, he finds it hard to stay awake, and before long, he can't and falls asleep. Back inside the casino at about 4 AM, Rolando walks into the surveillance monitoring room and prepares to execute step 1 of his plan, beat the chain of command. Inside, his co-workers Lillian Garcia and Colin Quayle are on duty with his supervisor, Osvaldo Paraga. They're surprised to see him. This isn't his shift, but there's no reason to be alarmed. He's a good guy and very professional. Rolando asks to speak privately with Parga, and they walk into the videotape storage room, an area in the back part of the casino with no cameras. There, he starts to share a crazy story about needing to call the gaming commissioner about a security breach. The cocaine is talking, and Rolando is losing the plot. Parga is confused and the two exit the room. It's not going well. A few minutes later, Rolando asks to speak to Parga again. This time, once he's in the storage room, he randomly claims he's had a fight with his girlfriend and is on the run. As Parga tries to digest this information and work out what it has to do with him, Rolando pepper sprays him, ties him up with duct tape and explains he is robbing the casino. Once out of earshot, he calls Eric to make sure he's ready. He's sleeping like a baby, until then at least, and now he's awake. Next, Rolando moves on to step 2, gain control of the comms. He returns to the monitoring room and resumes his story about needing to call the gaming commissioner. Once he's got the attention of Garcia and Quayle, he says, "You guys know I'm a good guy, right?" And then, as soon as they've replied, "Yes, Rolando, you're a great guy," he pulls a gun from his waistband. It's actually a Black Crossman BB gun, a replica of a 1.77 caliber gun, and threatens them with pepper spray. Terrified, he takes them into the storage room, tapes them back to back to a pole and tells them to keep quiet because he knows where they live. He also kisses Garcia and tells her he always liked her. Now he has control of the comms, and to prove it, goes back and forth to the monitoring room for the next few minutes, answering any routine calls that come through, so it looks like business as usual. Next is step 3, disable surveillance. To do so, he destroys an equipment panel for the surveillance cameras, job done, and then it's on to step 4, access the money. Rolando asks the duty security team to meet him at the main vault, where he needs to repair a camera. 2 unarmed guards meet him there, get clearance to enter, and ask Rolando to put on a smock over his clothing to prevent him from accessing his pockets. Inside the vault, where 5 more colleagues are working, Rolando claims one of the cameras are faulty and removes the lens. He then pulls out his BB gun and orders his workmates into a corner, threatening to shoot if they don't comply. He fills a duffel bag with cash, totaling $1,581,800 from the vault, makes one final call to Aguilera on his radio, and exits the casino for step 5, the escape. The pair drive 45 minutes to the Motel 6 in Palm Springs, where at 6:14 AM they check into room 242. There, they meet Eric's girlfriend, Sonia Boyraquez, divide up the money, and all that's left of the plan is to separate and execute the hardest part, step 6, flee the country. Never to be seen in the USA again. For Rolando, this means a quick flight out with a dodgy passport or a break for the border. Unfortunately, the plan had already gone badly wrong the moment Rolando decided to execute it, fried up on cocaine. By now, every law enforcement agent in the area knows who they're looking for, but in Palm Springs, instead of getting moving, Rolando decides to play the high roller. After checking into Motel 6, he orders top shelf liquor, high-end escorts, and throws cash around like a Las Vegas VIP. This gives the cops plenty of time to put 2 and 2 together and work out who could have been driving Rolando's car. Later that day, a search of Eric's home reveals a black duffel bag containing about $550,000 and some .177 caliber BBs, or pellets. And on Saturday the 4th of August, cell phone records track Rolando to the Executive Inn in Gardner near LAX, where deputies find him wearing a cheesy looking wig, a Rolex Submariner, and hiding $804,000 in a pillowcase. It seemed he got to the airport and realised his chances of fleeing had gone. He'd intended to use disguises to evade facial recognition, and he'd already stocked up on theatrical makeup, but had failed to secure the false passport that would get him out of the country, so instead he decided to settle and carry on canning it. Rolando Ramos and Eric Aguilera are charged with 3 counts of kidnapping for robbery, 7 counts of robbery, 1 count of tear gas use, 1 count of commercial burglary, 1 count of false imprisonment, and damage to property with a value exceeding $1.3 million. The pair are sentenced to 16 and 12 years in prison respectively, and when Aguilera's term is later reduced, as Ramos was the true mastermind, that is the end of the story. Rosemary Murillo, vice chairwoman of the Sababa Band and the Suando Indians, said afterwards that sometimes decent people do bad things. I'd say it's more that sometimes decent thieves do too many drugs, which is something that wasn't involved for those in the next video.